Now we come on to the next episode of Train, which is the Diva crossover. And this will help us understand the type 4 associated with the trains. So, till now we know three types. First, two train crossing the stationary object having negligible length, then having some length, then train crossing another train where both are in the same direction. Now, type 4 says train crossing another train, but both are in the opposite direction. Moving object, yes, train is crossing another moving object, but distance between them is 0. Yes, this looks just like your type 3. So what is the difference between type 3 and this? Type 3 was train crossing another train, both are traveling in the same direction. Distance between them is 0. Yes, even now in type 4 the distance between them is 0, but now they are traveling in opposite direction, and that's what makes type 4 different. Okay, Diva crossover is the episode which will help us understand two trains traveling in the opposite direction. Why it's a crossover now let us understand why it is called as that. So when do I start the stopwatch and when will I stop the stopwatch? Two trains coming from the opposite side crosses each other in 10 seconds. First, it should be clear in your brain what is this 10 seconds about. So I start the stopwatch when these two trains, the distance between them is 0. That is when I start with the stopwatch. Then what do I do with this? This train comes and it crosses this train. It is crossing this train. Will I stop the stopwatch? No. When will I stop the stopwatch? When this train completely crosses this train. So what is the distance traveled in this case? First, length of this local train, yes. Then it travels its length itself. That's it. Now I'll stop the stopwatch. So distance traveled in this case is length of first local train plus length of the second local train. And that will be my distance, because distance is always when do I start the stopwatch and when do I stop the stopwatch. So time is equals to, let's write it here, time is equals to distance upon speed. Time is given to me as 10 seconds. Distance will be length of first local train plus length of the second local train. That's how I'll write the lengths. So what is given to me in the problem now? If the lengths of the first train and second train be 125 and 175 meter respectively. So this becomes simple. This is 125 meter length of one local train and length of another local train is given to me as 175. So this looks quite simple. Also, the speed of the first train is 36. Find the speed of the second train. So speed of one of the train is given to me as 36 km per hour, and I am being asked what is the speed of the next local train. So when trains travel in the same direction in the previous type, what we do with the speed? We subtract. Why we subtract? We know it. Why we subtract? I told you in the earlier problem. The one train which is traveling in the same direction, but then the other train is also traveling, right? So resultant what is traveled is the subtraction of the two. When trains travel in the opposite direction, this is quite simple. See, this is one train and this is another train. Okay, the distance between them is say 1000 meters. The speed of this train is say 60 meter per second and the speed of this train is say 40 meter per second. What is happening in 1 second? This is traveling by 60 and this is traveling by 40. So what is happening? What happens in 1 second? They have to cover, see, imagine this distance is what they will have to cover. Distance, something is they have to cross over, right? So this distance is what they have to cover. This and then this will travel here. So what is happening in 1 second? Who is covering what distance? Let's say this is R. So in 1 hour this will cover this much part and this will also cover. This train is also covering the distance. So what are they doing with the distance? They are adding the distance that they have to travel with the speed, because this is the total distance they have to travel, right? So if this is adding to the distance, this is also adding from here, right? So what do you do with the speed? You add the speeds when two trains are traveling in the same direction, because the total distance that you have to cover is being added by the two speed. This is the crossover distance I have to cover. So if this is covering in 1 hour, this is also covering in 1 hour, right? So both the speeds need to be added when two trains travel in the opposite direction. So remember this, same direction you subtract, because one train subtracts the speed of the other, and in opposite direction you add because one train adds to the speed of the other to cover the total distance, which is nothing but the length of the two trains. Try and visualize this. How are the speed being added and why are the speed being added? It's easier to mug up this thing that same direction subtract, opposite direction add, but why do you add? Because the total distance is covered by their speed in opposite, so you add, and the total distance is subtracted as one train is moving ahead of another train in same direction. That's the concept of adding and subtracting. So let's just put this here now. I'll add the speed of one train is given to be 36 km per hour, but what is this? This is meter, this is meter, this is second. So I'll convert this 36 into meter per second. 5 by 18, 18 ones are 18 twos are 5 into 2, this becomes 10. If you're wondering why did I write 10 meter per second, because I need to convert this to meter per second, as this is in meter, this in meter, and this is in second. Now plus the length of another, speed of another train, let that be s, because the speeds will be added. So speed of one train is 10, let the speed of another train be s. That's it. Now you're just supposed to solve this to reach to your answer. So 10 into 10 becomes 100 plus 10s is equals to 300. Correct? So 10s is equals to what? 200. So s is equals to what? 20 what? Meter per second. And that's how simple it is to reach to the answer. If you need to convert this to kilometer per hour, what will you do? Meter per second into kilometer per hour, you will multiply this by 18 by 5. 5 ones are 5 fours are 18 into 4, 72 kilometer per hour. So speed of one train is 36, speed of another train is 72 kilometer per hour. So what did we learn from type 4? Two trains traveling in opposite direction, distance between them is 0. It means engine of this train is touching the engine of next train. Obviously they both are on different tracks. But what is the distance traveled in this case? Length of two trains, just like the bridge, just like the type 3. But do you add the speed in this case? And you know the reason as to why do you add. Because the total distance that is being covered is added by the speeds. And that's why you add the speed when train travel in opposite direction. So remember type 4, it will help you to solve many of the problems related to trains.